How are you?
Good. Happy belated birthday.
Happy belated birthday to you.
You're not. Are you at 30 yet?
I am 30 as of yesterday.
Whoa, big one.
I know. I was hoping that after this year, this would be the year when I could have the blowout, the final blowout, and then I don't do anything fun ever again. But
I think we should just consider the idea that we're gonna just delay all of our ages a year. Like, fully treat this like the thing in Avengers where 5 years disappears. We're just not a year older.
no, we're just it stayed. Let's
Yeah.
change our certificates, everything, or just
Yeah.
just do a full wash,
Yeah, we
right?
just do 2020 again over
Yes.
next year. Starts
Please
over.
no. Can we not do it over?
Well, so I wanted to talk to you about, you know, the freelancing stuff and everything. But can we start with just like what your career path over the last year plus or so was like, starting from the PBS gig?
Yeah, so I the last time we talked I was at PBS, and that was a while back, but I was at PBS for 4 years, doing a lot of marketing stuff, heading up audience development for their digital studio series arm. And I was actually laid off in August of 2019. And it wasn't because I was bad at my job or anything. It's due to they eliminated my role and then a couple of other roles. So media layoffs in 2019 were pretty bad in general. We were anticipating something, but not necessarily me, I don't think. So it was pretty sad. I love the work there, and I still love the people there. So what I ended up doing was sort of looking for things, but then while I was sort of looking for full-time jobs, I was asked to do some consulting on the side for people for just some one-off projects. And so I was like, okay, I can dip my toe into this. I ended up getting a part-time job while doing this on the side, and that starting in January, I couldn't handle the workload because I ended up getting too much work. So, which was a really nice problem to have. I made the decision in February, the beginning of February of 2020, to go full time freelancing and dove into that, working on currently two video projects and two podcasts. And it's keeping me busy, but I think the fear of the unknown is where my stuff overlies right now.
Obviously, everyone. We're taking career steps all the time. Everyone's taking different career steps, but I was interested in this idea of like someone who took like a significant leap, like right
Yeah.
before the world ended. So first of all, consulting, that's a very fancy sounding word. To me, it sounds like you show up with a briefcase and you work with like these organizations that maybe you would like get on a plane to Brazil or whatever to like do some consulting, and then like the leader of a nation ends up dead or something like that. But that's not quite what consulting is, right?
No, absolutely not. It really varies on person to person, client to client on what you're doing. There are some one client that I have, I wouldn't say I have a consulting relationship with because I'm creating content for them. So I do marketing, digital marketing, social media, all that stuff. Some clients I tell people what they should be doing in terms of making content and telling them how to like think about big picture. Also very interesting challenge to have right now because you know all projections are out the window. But then there are some where I'm just like I'm making things for them, whether it be writing social posts.
Like any other situation where you're giving someone some advice as to what to do. Like, so as a consultant, you tell people what to do, but like any other time when you're offering advice, sometimes you end up just doing it.
Right.
Yeah, so obviously coronavirus is changing marketing in general. One thing that's definitely happening is there's just less marketing. there's been another wave of media layoffs in the wake of coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You were a victim of a different virus, which was the pivot to video virus. I think, right? Which is like everyone basically believed false data from Facebook, turned all of their media organizations toward video. Then it turned out that Facebook had falsified a lot of that information, and then everyone turned back away again, and it was sort of like cataclysmic for like anyone who did anything that involved a camera.
True. And I would add a caveat to that like there is a certain responsibility that those companies have and brands have when they're doing those pivots, that when they're pivoting to specific models that don't necessarily have an ad revenue platform built, but they're presumably building one just in the near future, and then people companies are hatching their bets on that. Like that's on them too. But I mean, I will say there's a lot of marketing to be had in different ways. Like a lot of people don't understand crisis management. Teams don't know how to handle that, especially if you are marketing cereal. Like you don't necessarily have a plan put in place for how do you handle a global pandemic in your messaging. And so there are new ways to pivot yourself as a freelancer, as a marketer, in that way. And it all sounds really gross and smarmy and all of that. And so I try to like turn that bit of my brain off that feels gross thinking about it. Um, but the other bit to that, where I think I'm more scared of the unknown, is thinking about the fall and the winter, where you don't know where marketing budgets are going to be, right? At least within March and April, ad budgets have mostly been put into place and have already been allocated. The money going into Q3 and Q4, that's still a bit of a mystery. What if there's no work? So do I need to make up for that? Do I need to prep before that?
Yeah, I can definitely understand why this idea that yes, there's so much unknown. Like for a regular person, right? There's so much unknown right now about what's going to happen. Also true for you personally, but then just for you career-wise, you're like, okay, well, there's this other like business timetable that I have to deal with, where that ends up impacting what you're able to do later and how much should you prepare for. Yeah, that's a scary idea. Plus, not to mention the fact that all these companies are going to run out of all their existing stock footage for ads soon. They already had the stock footage of the dad working from home, and they're using that now, and they're like, we know that these times are changing and very interesting. Stock footage of a dad working at the kitchen island, right? But then, after you've used stock footage of dad working at Kitchen Island, what do you use in June and July when you can't shoot any more stock footage?
And then, now more than ever, like they have the same tone of stock video and stock music, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go pull my hair out.
Do you have a Google Chrome extension on your computer that like shocks you if you type out now more than ever?
I actually have a Google Doc of words to not use, and they're mostly kind of inspired by what I see. And it's like there's just an oversaturation of now more than ever, or in this time. I think at this point, audiences, your audience and your consumers would just appreciate you just saying, look, we're in a global pandemic. This is saying it for what it is, instead of it being full of flowery language. And then it just sounds like they're relying on language that they built like 5 years ago for like a war or something else going on.
It does seem a little bit like, well, at least we can use this one again next time. I can tell too, though, that like right now, and maybe this will change soon, but it seems like right now fewer organizations are even advertising because fewer organizations are sure what to say exactly. I notice it because I don't pay for Spotify. And so when the ads come up on Spotify, about half of them now are just ads thanking you for listening to Spotify. And you're like, oh, that's a slot that isn't getting filled.
Right, right. And so that's actually where the issue of like all these media layoffs are coming off. Like they're seeing like huge click-through rates and view counts on their website. They're seeing more page views now than ever before. And so people are saying like, why are people laying off people at media companies? Because there's now getting news orgs are now getting more coverage and more page views than ever before. Well, it's because of those advertisers pulling their ads. It's creating less competition, lowering the CPMs, and so ad revenue is dropped completely. So now those page views and those click through rates mean absolutely nothing. So it's another example, which what they haven't learned from the pivot to video thing, of like all these media companies putting all of their eggs in specific baskets that don't have actual dollar signs connected to them. There's more talk, and there has been more talk within media companies about strengthening relationships with the audience to therefore create to create subscriptions. Independent creators have been doing this with Patreon for a long time. So now we're going to be seeing that so much more than ever before, I think.
It's
But
interesting because, just from a kind of like amateur outsider perspective, the way that I understood that problem actually was through like small time creators, and it always felt to me like people on YouTube were always just chasing wherever the dollar was
mm-hmm,
in that moment. And
mm-hmm,
that's the thing that kept me off Patreon forever, was that I always just assumed that this was just another thing. It was another sand foundation that people were going to build their houses on, and then it was going to come out from underneath them, which yet still may happen. But but that's the exact thing that always scared me away from any one revenue source, I guess, or
right.
in my case, any revenue source at all.
Well, well. I mean, I guess the lesson learned is like, quote, diversifying your revenue stream, having a little bit of being in a little bit of everything, whether it be selling merch, using ad revenue from YouTube videos, or having a subscription based platform, and then you put that all together and you can pay your rent essentially. But with that is really an extra, at least part time job involved there. And I think a lot of creators underestimate the time it takes to really invigorate audiences on those platforms, especially on Patreon. Patreon's is like a social platform and a blogging platform put together plus money. So it's fairly underestimated.
Yeah,
Um,
it sounds
yeah,
exhausting.
yeah. But I'm also seeing like, independent creators being like, look, with COVID-19, I need your support now more
Now
than
more than
ever.
ever.
And people are seeing an influx, or independent creators are seeing an influx that way, but they may not see that again in like September.